Look what I got. Let's shake that off, huh? What do you think? Let's try this again. Yeah, I know. But you know what? You meant. Benny. Look at this. Here. Hey, I got it. Penny, come here. Hey, look what I got. Hey, look what I got. Sit. Penny.
Go ahead and hold your leash. You're going to get a good grip on it. So I'm going to move into her personal space to see, and give her about a little bit more slack than that.
Now first she wants to play, because now she thinks this is fun.
So pull straight up here.
Straight up?
Pull straight up.
Like this?
Yeah. Up more. More. Right. Up more. Keep it up.
Okay.
A little bit more this way.
Toward you?
Yeah. Now hold up. And don't bob with it. Just hold up. Just straight up. Like this.
Straight out like that?
Like that. Just keep. So you see how you're bobbing with her? You need to keep it up like this. Okay. So what she's doing here is she's playing a little tug of war. And I'm trying to calm her down. So when you allow her to bob and do all that stuff, you're engaging with her. It becomes a game. So it's I pull up and I maintain it up, so that if she tries to grab it, she's stuck like that. And this gets really uncomfortable, that she's gonna release the pressure and then relax. Okay? Because if you try to muzzle her when she's in that escalated state, it's not gonna go well.
I know.
Okay? So now that we've calmed her down a bit, let's see if we can, if from behind, the way you wanna do it is slip it, if you're beside her, over her head like this and then clip it on. I wouldn't even worry about the treat stuff because she's too stimulated.
Sit. Sit. So much fur. That was fur coming. Your mom or your dad? Okay. Yeah, we're in business.
All right, for the e-collar, you're gonna fit it on as snug as possible. You're gonna feel like she's choking and then loosen it a notch. We have to make sure we get through that fur coat.
I understand.
Okay.
So prong collar still stays on for now?
Yeah, and then if anything, you can remove the prong, clip your flat clip your leash to her flat collar, so we have less clutter around the face right now.
Well, I took her flat collar off.
That's that gray one.
No. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
So leave the flat collar on.
It doesn't have a D-ring on it.
There's no D-ring on it?
No, it's got this little fabric ring right here,
Oh,
which I don't know if I trust it. What I can do is I can double this back. Actually, I got a carabiner here,
okay.
so I want to try that. I didn't realize it didn't have a D-ring.
That's weird.
I know. The other thing I'm a little bit concerned about is if I pull too hard on this, it's going to loosen the collar. But I'm going to take her prong off, okay?
Yeah.
I know. I'm excited too. Walking perfect. It's the weirdest thing. So, get off to Kennedy and, go past the little bus station underneath the viaduct. She sees someone walking around and she goes apeshit. Then I'm at the corner of Pulaski, I think there's a Walgreens or whatever over there. She sees somebody walking around, she goes nuts. It's almost like she's afraid of just plain old people. All right.
Ready?
Yep.
Right, so then we'll get the e-collar there. You're gonna fit on her neck. I'm not gonna care about placement right now.
Okay.
Just as snug as possible. You're gonna feel like it's too tight. If it feels like it's too tight, probably just right.
You want it closer to her throat?
Anywhere from one side of the jaw to the other, trying to stay away from the jugular area.
So can I put it under her ear?
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid what you just said.
Did Emily send you the videos?
No.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I sent her videos for you guys to watch, prep you for today.
Yeah. It's a challenging week. All right, so you want to check this out?
We'll start with that. Let's go ahead and grab the e-collar.
Good girl.
And I'm going to show you how to see if we got contact. It should already be powered on, so I powered it on myself. Go ahead and grab your remote there. And then what's it on the front, you should see a screen. It says say 0, 13, okay? So on the side there's a bumpy button that says Nick.
Yep.
That button right there, that's the one that we're going to be working with, okay? So go ahead and put the thumb on that button, that's fine right there. And when I say tap, you press that button.
Okay.
Tap.
Now?
Yep. Yeah. Let's go to 20. And you're going to use the
How
dial
do I scroll up and down?
on the dial on top next to the antenna. Yep.
Got it.
If you land on 21, 19, or whatever, that's fine. Just general range is 20.
Gotcha.
And then clockwise goes up, counterclockwise goes down.
Okay, hit it again.
You're going to hit that Nick button.
This guy right here?
Yep. Tap. 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 25.
Oops.
Tap.
And action.
Tap. Tap. 30. Tap. 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 35. Tap. 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 40. Tap. 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 50.
Is it possible that her collar's just not too tight?
It is, but this is also normal for the first day. Tap. 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 Because she's got that thick fur. 60. Looks like she maybe felt something there. Tap. 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 65. See that little head movement? So I think there's a faint tap. Tap. So here, lightly pull up. Tap. Tap. Good. Anytime she fights the muzzle, what you're going to do is you're going to get in the habit of always pulling up.
Straight up like
Yep,
this?
straight up.
Nice and taut?
And then sometimes I'll even pick them up so that the paws come off the ground. Because, again, it's knocking them off balance. We're trying to use that to our leverage. You're at what number now? 65?
Yeah.
Again, tap. Tap. Yeah, so right here, if you look at her right shoulder, there's a twitch. Tap. Tap. Yeah. 70. Tap. Tap. All right, you see that big movement there?
Yeah.
So that gives us our working number. We have 3 levels. We have connection, perception, and working. Connection is just a twitch, but the dog's not phased. So if she's looking that way, we see this happen. That means we have connection, but it's not enough to get the dog's attention. Perception is the twitch, and then a little bit of movement, and then working number is like, whoa, what was that? Working number has more concern. You always want to operate at that number because that's what's going to get us the quick progress. Okay, so it's the twitch is just connection. Don't think just because you see it that it's enough. You need connection plus concern. Concern means whatever it is that we're doing is important. It's just trying to find some way to stop it. Nobody likes being in an uncomfortable situation, right? So if you find yourself uncomfortable, you think to yourself, how do I stop this? How do I get myself out of this? Same thing for the dog. Once you find that number that she's motivating her to like stop the situation, then we start getting to teach really quickly. Very important, especially when we're dealing with aggression. If there's no caution in terms of behavior, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay? So we're going to get started with the simple leash walking exercise. Very simple. It's going to be the foundation for everything. Okay? So one thing I want you to get used to doing is when she passes, you're going to be making immediate 180 turns like this. Anytime I tell you turn, okay? Immediately 180 to your right, going the opposite way. As you're doing this, you're also going to be tapping on the collar. I'll be saying tap. I'm marking the so if I say tap, 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 that would be your rhythm. Say tap, 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 tap. That would be your rhythm. Okay? Questions so far?
Nope.
All right, so I'm going to coach you.
Are we getting this on?
Yeah, we're getting it. It's a lot of info, and I have to speed through this.
No entiendo. Okay, so I'm gonna do the best I can.
Okay. So you're going to get some slack. You're going to stand next to her and give slack. You're going to give slack so that you see a little bit of a J, a little bit more slack, a little bit more right there. Now relax. Okay. Give more slack. There. Yeah. Okay, we'll see how that works. So you want to see the J. So if you look at your leash there, see that little loop, where that bottom of that J is, you want to see it around the armpit area. Okay, that'll keep it out of her paws, or out of her armpits, but also at the same time, make it long enough so that she will make mistakes. Okay, we need mistakes to happen in order to teach her what not to do. Okay, so I'm gonna have you start moving forward. Okay, so when I say turn, 180
on the right side.
Yeah, just like this.
Right. So I'm doing. Okay, got it.
If you do it correctly, you should stay within the path. Okay, do not do a rounded turn.
Just do it sharp.
Sharp 180, and I'll be telling you to tap when you need
I got
to.
it. It's 7.
Yes, if we get a yip, we'll adjust it. She's not going to die. It's okay. It's just a muscle contraction. So go ahead and start walking forward. Turn, tap, tap. Turn, tap, tap. Relax. Keep walking, but just relax your arms. Pull to your left. Tap, 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 tap. So if you see her go to your right, I'm gonna have you pull to your left and then tap as well, okay? So yeah, give that slack. That's good right there.
I didn't know that about the J.
Okay, forward. It's just little things that I've learned through teaching people, make it easier. Good, and turn, tap, 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 tap. Let's go ahead and bump it. You're at 70, correct?
Yeah.
Let's go to 75.
Why did she just stall out on me?
She's not, the number isn't tap, tap. See how she's still in that phase here, 80? And this is normal for day 1. Tap, tap. There we go.
Definitely responding to it.
Now forward, tap, 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 forward, keep forward, tap forward. Good, you got it, keep forward, tap, keep forward. Let's go and drop it, let's go to 60.
Okay.
Okay, and forward, give slack. That's good.
For a walk, what do you say?
Tap, tap, keep forward, keep forward, keep forward, keep walking, tap, 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 keep forward, yep, keep forward, tap. Keep forward, tap. So if you see her start to like buck like that, you want to keep your momentum, because when you stop, it allows her to keep protesting. Go ahead and slow turn here. Yep, forward, this way, yep, tap, tap, forward, forward. Yep, forward, tap. Good. You got it. Good. And relax. Good. Relax just your arms. But keep walking forward. Relax, not stop. Tap. 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 There we go. Good girl. Going to slow turn. Good. Going to move this way. Tap. 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 There she goes. Good. And relax. Yep, keep forward, tap. Good. Keep forward. You got it. Good. Yep. Pull to your left, tap. There you go. Keep straight, but just pull to your left, tap. There you go. Good. And relax. Keep moving forward. Good. Slow turn. Tap. Forward. Keep forward. Tap. Tap. There you go. Good. Go and speed up a bit. Yep, keep forward. Tap, tap, pull to your left, tap. Good. Pull to your left, tap. Keep forward. You got it. Good. You got it. Good. And relax. Keep walking. Good. Turn. Tap. Forward. Tap. Good. And relax. There you go. Good. Go and speed up. Go and slow walk. Go and slow turn. Forward. Tap, 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 tap. Good. And relax. Go and speed up a bit. Tap. Go and turn. Yep, keep going. Tap, tap, tap. There we go. Go and slow down. And then slow to stop when you're ready. Good. All right. Do you know what we're trying to do here?
Not exactly.
Hers is not as obvious as I usually see it. Like usually when the owners are walking their dog, they're all over the place. How old is she?
Just turned 3.
Just turned 3, okay. So she was actually doing fairly well with just walking with you. And what we're trying to do here is a couple of things. We're trying to teach her how remote works, okay? So when we're dealing with behavior, because I know we have the aggression that we need to work with, it's not as simple as just coming in and correcting the aggression, okay? Like the dog has to have a concept of what this tool is, because she's not meant to have her neck contracted. That's a human technology, right? Dogs bite each other, so she understands that. And this is like as close to as we can get to that as possible. But what we're trying to teach her here is how this thing turns on and how it turns off, and what she can do in response when it turns on to turn it off, okay? So right now, we're trying to teach her to stay exactly there with her right shoulder to your left leg, okay? So this is the baseline for heel, which is the leash walking exercise, which is not related to aggression, right? But it's teaching her, one, discipline, what discipline is, and in a non-confrontational context. Confrontational would be like earlier when she was barking and lunging at me. If we had the collar on her, me coming at her and in zapping her with the collar in that moment. That would be confrontational, okay? What I'm trying to do here is seeing, what's her name again?
Penny.
Penny. Seeing if I correct Penny or discipline her out of the problem area, okay, how will it impact her behavior? Most people and trainers think it's always coming in and punishing the extreme behavior, which is what we saw earlier, the reactivity stuff, okay? And it's not that it's not an approach, because it is an approach, but it's not always the first approach that I do, okay? So what we're doing here is we're just teaching her there's consequence for things, and we're essentially biting her for non-related things to see, does it change her, the way she looks at the world? Because so far in the past, 3 years that you've had her, and she's had these moments of aggression, they've gone unchecked, right? Like she's won and her ego's been inflated. So now we start talking her language and disciplining her and seeing, does that shift or shrink that ego? So it's like a bully. If a bully bullies a bunch of kids and gets away with it, they feel more powerful. They just keep bullying more kids until one day, potentially, a kid stands up to that bully and puts them in their place and beats them up. Then the bully goes, oh crap, I can't bully everyone. And then they start to see the world very differently. Does that make sense? So you have a bully, essentially. She's bullying in the house, and she's not afraid to use that aggressive response as a means of obtaining what she's wanting, okay? So I'm trying to operate in a way that we remove any risk or reduce any risk of being bitten. And then earlier coming at her in that particular state, if we're not set up correctly, could be a not so good thing, okay? Does this all make sense so far? The exercise is super simple in terms of how it's taught or how she's learning it. Most people, when they teach the heel, if the dog pulls ahead as they're walking, they'll simply punish the behavior to get the dog to jump back, and they'll tell them no. Heel as in no, don't do that, and heel as in walk beside me. But dogs don't know what these words mean. They don't understand by definition what these words mean. We're associating what these words mean by how we implement the e-collar and the context and the concept that we're trying to put into her head. So what we do here is, ideally the dog would be forging ahead and we'd be remoting this, okay? And as you're turning for the dog, they feel this and they go, this is annoying. So they turn around, they go, oh, dad's going that way. She catches up and the remoting stops. And she goes, oh, right? That's weird. And she passes again, and the remoting starts. Then you go the opposite way. She turns around. She's like, oh, dad's going that way. So every time she gets the remote, she turns around to go, what's going on? And she sees you moving another way. So her brain is thinking, oh, when I feel this, it's a communicator telling me I'm going in the wrong direction because dad's always going the opposite way.
Right, and she doesn't associate it with you. She associates it with what she's doing.
Correct. And that's the main thing about behavior, is we want the dog to think it's the behavior that's
Every
causing.
time I do this is the result.
Correct. So when we come into aggression, let's say we said the word no and then corrected her with the e-collar, technically she can still become aggressive until you say no. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I want the dog to learn is aggression, period, is not an acceptable means of handling a stress.
Right, and I guess for me, I'm taking it out of faith that we can connect the dots between base level discipline and getting her to heel and follow me and everything.
Right.
Somehow that translating then into her not going apeshit whenever the Amazon truck shows up at her house.
Right. Now, because you have a stimulus there, okay?
Yes.
So where she's coming from technically isn't a bad place, okay? Because in her world, it's, dogs are very primal, very black and white. It's just Amazon dropping off a package that you ordered 2 days before, right? She doesn't. She just goes, who's this stranger showing up on our territory, right? And then she's going on alert and letting everybody know, hey, something's going on. So there has to be communication back. Now, you can always disagree with this, but I want you to understand where she's coming from, because people...
Right, and she's a herding dog, which probably makes it just as worse.
So, but we can always stop this stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the indoor stuff like that, we would correct it, but she has to have a concept of what this is technically first before we start jumping into other areas.
Got it.
Okay? Because I'm trying to get you also accustomed to how this works. So this is a lot of stuff.
I know.
Right? Now you're doing better as you're picking up on like what the exercise is.
I can learn.
Everybody can learn. It's super simple, okay? So, questions so far?
Nope.
We're at what number now? 60?
Yeah, we just dropped it down.
Okay, let's give her a test tap real quick. Tap, tap. Okay, cool. We'll keep it at 60, okay? I'm gonna have you give her a wee bit more slack. There you go.
Hey.
And just, there you go. Good. Right? And I'm gonna have you start and just relax and keep moving. Good, go ahead and turn. Tap, tap, forward, tap, tap, tap. Good, and relax. Good, relax your arms, but keep walking. There you go. Go and turn. Forward. Good. There was no tap there because she turned with you.
I'm not hearing you say tap.
There wasn't a tap because she turned with you. Okay, on the last one, she kept going forward. So that's why we started tapping. So we're only tapping when she gets out of place.
Got it.
So her right shoulder should be hugged up against your left leg like you currently... Yeah. And relax those arms. Keep walking. There you go. Go and turn again. Tap. Forward. There we go. Good. Go and speed up. Good, and slow down. Go and turn. Good. Forward and slow to stop when you're ready. Good. Now go ahead and lightly pull up on your leash. Tap. Like as you pull up, tap, tap, and relax. Good. Okay. So what we're doing here is, again, teaching that tap as a communicator. So this is a package of things. We're only going to work on the first half today. Okay. Is whenever you come to a stop, that butt should go down. Okay. So right there, you came to a stop. I like where she was positioned, right shoulder right on that left leg. And all you do is lightly pull up, because for most dogs, that upwards tension, especially if they're familiar with prong, typically communicates put your butt down. Okay. But instead of the prong, the spiky contraction part of it being our communicator, it's this muscle contraction. So we're trying to transition all that stuff to a press of a button. Does that make sense? Yeah. So as she gets conditioned, when you come to a stop, should she forget, you wouldn't even need to pull up the leash. You would simply press that button, and that butt would go down. Okay. So I'm trying to use every single opportunity that I can find to remote her. That's what makes this, successful or work very quickly. It's because people tend to wait for the extremes before they use the e-collar. And whereas I look at, and the extreme is a buildup of a bunch of smaller things that go underdressed, and a lot of times. And what I'm trying to do is address all the smaller things that would end up leading up to addressing the bigger things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like the lunging, the reactivity, and all that stuff.
It's a chain reaction event.
Correct.
Right.
So your dog becomes what you allow them to do. Okay. Now, when you would walk with Penny prior, I can't remember. Did we have? I know we have reactivity on occasion towards people, but there's like no real.
Not generally when I walk with her.
Okay.
But then that might be because of COVID or whatever. It's not like I'm right in front of people. Sometimes people will approach her with their dogs, like, hey, just thinking, for example, a Labradoodle, generally very pleasant, friendly dog. Hey, they want to bring their dog over to mine. I have to kind of just say, hey, look, we're really working hard on obedience. Thanks, but no thanks. But people, if they come to our house, that's one thing. If people walk by on the street, as you've seen people do, she's relatively indifferent to it. It's like she doesn't care. It doesn't register any kind of threat to her.
Okay.
There's nothing she needs to defend. Now, your body language, you came at her right now, especially if you crouched and came at her, she'd have a really strong reaction to that.
Okay. So passing by people in passing, no problem. But if someone encroaches on her space,
3 miles and there's no issue.
Okay. So let's keep an eye on when people approach. Just have your leash how it is. Just get a good grip.
Okay. Yeah. You want to get up here?
Thank you. A little bit of lip licking earlier. See right there? That quick little lip lick. Doing the side eye.
I see.
Yeah.
So you're starting to aggravate her a little bit?
Yeah, but you see how she goes back to open mouth? So open mouth is passive or venting stress. Okay? So there was a couple times as I was petting her right now that the lip licking was communicating what you just did made me uncomfortable. And then the side eye is kind of like, I really don't like this, but she's tolerating it. Okay? So you hear that breathing? She's 1, hot, 2, relaxed, 3, venting stress because the e-collar is a stressor, so she's processing everything that's going on right now because she's never felt this before. So when I approach dogs that are legitimately aggressive, that will bite, and it's how they handle things, this wouldn't have happened without an attack. The dog was still attacked when they're truly, truly aggressive. Okay.
So I take that as a positive sign.
Yes. Okay, that's why. So when I deal with aggression gets tossed around as a description for dogs, I think a little too easily, in my opinion. Okay, so someone will say my dog, bit someone that came into my house, one time out of like 5 years of having a dog, and they'll say, but my dog's not aggressive. And I'm like, I look at aggression as a buildup of stress and a means of handling that stress. Okay, so like for a human, if someone is harassing you for a long time, like you get pissed off, right? If it goes unaddressed, one day that person who's being harassed might punch the other person, right?
Right, or if you're stressed from your job or some other stuff going on in your life, and you're stuck on the Kennedy and someone drives like a jackass and cuts you off, your response is going to be completely different.
Yes.
From if you're totally cool and chill and
you're not in a rush, you're not tight on time, you got time to spare.
Exactly.
Right? Doesn't make you an aggressive person. Now, there are some people who go 0 to 10 in terms of anger.
Understood.
For the slightest of things, right? And that's someone that I would dub more so an aggressive or angry type of person, right? Same thing for dogs.
Yeah.
I get dogs, every little thing, aggression is how they handle it. I get other dogs that you mind your business, they mind their business, no problem, unless they feel threatened or unless they feel like they have no other option but to defend themselves because they're going into a self-preservation mode and they're using aggression as a response. So look, dogs get anxious, we get anxious. They get nervous, we get nervous. They get scared, we get scared. They can become aggressive, we can become aggressive, right? So I hate that when a dog has bites a dog or a person one time in the span of years, all of a sudden they become an aggressive dog. That doesn't make sense to me. That's why I always ask questions. I'm like, what happened prior? What was going on? Did you ever see this before? Blah, blah, blah. I get a lot of things, and I go, okay, makes sense according to the context. Or I'll say, yeah, you got a problem. Your dog's a jerk, and your dog is resorting to aggression to handle like every little thing, and that's more problematic. Okay? Question?
No, I'm just thinking. So, but everything's telegraphed.
Yeah.
So you obviously read this very well, like what you're just saying with her and her eye and her lip curling and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if she were a wolf, that would be very obvious to the other wolves around her.
Correct.
Stay the hell away.
Correct. That's why my job is not just it's not just this. You have to know how to read your dog.
This is dog as a second language.
Yeah, exactly.
DSL.
No, exactly. That's the first time I've ever heard that put. But yeah, exactly. Dog as a second language, right? So I've been doing this for 10 years. And I've developed a really good eye for reading animal and dog behavior. And I've seen everything from, the easiest to go happy-go-lucky dogs to hyper-aggressive, can't even walk in the front door without the dog grabbing you and taking you in, and legitimately just wanting you to do some harm, okay? So, the main thing here with most cases, just like with people, I think we can agree that everybody gets angry, and if anybody pushed to the point could potentially become or give an aggressive response, right? That's like dogs. And there's a very small percentage that are a little bit more easily triggered or resort to those that means of handling situations with anger or aggressive responses. But that's not the totality of people.
No.
It's the same thing for dogs.
Sure.
So as we progress and you learn more about her, then it's like we can avoid certain contexts, we can prevent certain contexts, we can address certain contexts, because life's not going to be easy peasy, right? Like we don't go to, if someone goes to anger management, they're not like, we're going to make it so you never become angry again.
No, so you learn to avoid situations.
Yeah, you avoid situations.
Self-awareness, I feel it building up, here's what's going on, I got to get myself out of here, I got to start coping with this, or whatever.
Yeah, de-escalation. Other things, running instead of smoking cigarettes, as stress responses.
Right.
It's a change of things, but it doesn't mean that that person would never become angry again, right? It's the same thing here.
Sure.
What I'm trying to do is de-escalate her stress levels so that she's not jumping already from 6. She has to build from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we get to 10.
And we see going from 0 to 6, we see that.
Yeah, so we would stop it right when we see that 1 or 2 starting to happen. Yeah. Prevention is always the easiest way of handling things, okay? I'm going to teach you both prevention and intervention because it may happen. I know both. That's what makes me very skilled trainers. I come in and I'm like, all right, cool, let's do this. And then sometimes they come in and it's already a shit show. And I have to intervene in order to, keep everybody safe. Like I had a dog, I wasn't expecting it to go after me, but he went after me. And I had to have the collar and everything set up a certain way because he kept trying to go after my hand and trying to bite sideways. But if I didn't have that skill set, it would have been a very bad situation. Good. You see how she keeps them out panting and stuff?
Yeah.
So let's say if that did stress her out, you would hear the go to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That quietness is tension. Okay. So that's something you can use to your advantage when you're walking with her. Now start paying attention. Maybe you go for a walk and you see somebody running by really fast, a biker, skateboarder, or whatever. Just step aside out of curiosity. Listen to that sound. And if you hear silence, take a look at her. Is she licking her lips? Is her mouth closed? But that's tension. Now it's what I call on-the-fence behavior. It doesn't mean the dog will escalate to aggression. That's just what we have to kind of let experience tell us. So if I have a dog that does that and then becomes reactive, and repeatedly becomes reactive, then I know every time it goes from panting to closed mouth, I'm going to see reactivity.
Right.
That I can start addressing that closed mouth.
You see it building.
Exactly. You catch that 1 to 2 as opposed to waiting for that 10. Most people tend to wait for the 10 because it's the almost obvious thing. If we always do that, it remains kind of like a forever problem. I want her to think, I don't even want to think about being reactive or aggressive or whatever because this kicks in. Okay, it's kind of like that movie, was it Minority Report?
Yeah.
Where they could see a crime happening before it was about to happen, so they would go and stop it, It's the same thing for the dog. As soon as you start to see that process going, you're like, nope, I'm going to cut that out right now. So then the brain, that's how the brain learns to self-regulate, is it goes 0, 1, 2, and you stop. And you keep doing that. And if you do that the correct number, it dissuades the dog from wanting to even go into that escalation because they know it's going to happen. Okay? But for a lot of dogs, that 10 behavior of lunging and barking is worth even like the harshest consequence. Like people ask, like Jesse, like I 127 my dog from Reactivity, and they still wouldn't stop. I'm like, yeah, because it's worth the consequence to do that behavior. Dog logic and human logic is very different. Okay, so as we start to get deeper into that stuff, you know, it'll start to make a bit more sense. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So there's some reward for a dog to do that, because it's high risk behavior for a dog to attack another dog or attack a human. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but that typically what happens with animals, whether it's two males fighting over a doe or it's two dogs fighting over something, you get to a certain point and then boom, it stops and there's an appeasement, and that because neither dog wants to die in that situation. They want to establish something, they want to get something, there's something to be gained, but rarely does it end in death. That's what I understand it. You know, two male lions are fighting, one of them's going to walk away eventually. They're going to do their thing, but one of them's going to walk away. It's rare that one male lion will kill another adult male lion, just because the costs are too high for them. Maybe with a domesticated animal it's different. I don't know, because maybe they think, hey, I'm protecting my herd, I'm protecting my human, whatever it might be.
Right. So you empower, let's say like she was being defensive towards me and stuff, right? You empower her because you give her something to protect. Right? It's kind of like people always say when they have their first kid, like it changed their life. They then had something that they need to care for and protect, right? So it changes your outlook on life. It's the same thing for dogs, but that thing could be anything. Okay. Now, yes, dogs go into self-preservation mode because it's against instinct for animals to commit suicide, if you will, or starve themselves to death and things like that. If it's out of their, if it's out of their hands, it's going to happen. But ideally, they would find something to eat to keep living, right? They're driven by two things: survive and replicate. She's been spayed, then we don't have replication anymore. We just have survive, right? So obviously it happens, but yes, like animals are very simple in the sense that once something is established, if they lose and they really respect that loss, there's no challenging it. But in some case, when we get dogs within the home that fight a lot, it tends to keep kind of cropping up a lot. Because they live within the home with each other, there's no escaping the situation. So the owner has to step in and squash everything so that both dogs are on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions so far?
No.
All right. So what we're gonna do here is the same exercise. I'm gonna have you give her more slack again this time.
Sure. Hang on, it's my daughter. I'll call her back. Okay, I'm gonna call you back in a few. Okay.
So what we're gonna do here is when you give that slack, go ahead and just hold your leash without the wrap.
Which way am I going?
Any way you want. Yeah, just like that. Hold your leash like that. So I want to see more slack. So if you look here, how you have it looped even, because when you're wrapping it around her hand, it was still taking a little bit. But now as she's starting to dial in more, I'm wanting you to give that slack, because if you walk for a block with Penny, or a mile or whatever, and your leash is completely slack, but she's right here, what does that tell us? She's learning the concept. Correct, right? And then we'll talk about the homework and all that stuff, okay? And we'll go ahead and keep it at where we're at.
Which way do you want me to go?
I can go straight.
Towards these guys right here?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Because you always be turning before you reach them. And then relax those arms, keep moving. Go ahead and turn. Forward. Tap. Pull to your left. Tap. 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 And relax. There you go. Good. Slow turn. Forward.
And I was like, well, you don't.
Tap, pull to your left. There you go. Good. Relax. Keep walking forward. Go and speed up. Go and turn. Yep. Tap forward. You got it. Tap forward and relax. Keep moving. Good. Go on slow walk here, but keep walking. Good. Slower and stop. Go ahead and take 5 steps.
Stop.
Yep. Go ahead and take 3 steps. Good. Go ahead and make a right turn. Yep. Forward. Stop. Good. So you see how she's right on that leg. Okay, and this was complete slack. There was no tension there. So what we have here is mental control. As humans, we tend to go to physical control, right? You restrain the leash, pick up the dog, things like that. Or like when I see people who've maybe trained with other trainers, the trainers will make them shorten their leash and say keep it really tight and walk your dog like right here and say heel every time you move. It doesn't register because a dog never gets the opportunity to make mistakes. You need the mistakes to teach them what not to do and then redirect them with what to do, which is us going the opposite way, okay? So here, again, if you're walking with Penny for 3 miles, whatever, and you're completely relaxed and your leash is slack just like that and she's spot on, that tells me that mentally she's dialed into you, okay? And that's what we're always aiming for when we do e-collar obedience, okay? If her brain is in a passive state, it again takes more work for it to escalate into reactivity or aggression. The reason why this is so important to that is earlier I said your dog becomes what you allow them to practice, right? So like, when I come in, typically like the dog's all over the place, you know, barking at people, barking at dogs, barking at skateboards and all that stuff, and it goes unchecked, that the dog is building a habit now. I bark at these things. So then I know that's probably we need to address, but I always go with this first because if the dog's more stressed out about the owner and they're mentally focused on the owner, ideally you don't even see that stuff. Okay? So now when you walk with her, you're practicing structure and discipline and focus to help calm down her mental state so that she becomes more of a passive dog as opposed to a stimulated dog who's waiting for the next thing to trigger. Okay? Question? And you walk her, you said every day for 3 miles, was it?
That's my way.
Okay. So what we're going to do now with our homework is we're not going to walk her like we did previously. We're going to be walking her like this. Okay. So the easiest way to go about this is when you go out for that walk, start off with a potty break first. Let her get that business out. Pee, poop, get that done. Okay. Then, you know, she's already collared up, everything's turned on, everything's ready to go. You're not going to say anything this week. You're not going to say heel. Okay. You're just going to start walking and you're going to tap her. Okay. So when you start walking, you always want to walk away from Penny and tapping so that she has to move towards you. That tap or that contraction is what's going to start all of this exercise. Okay, we will put a cue to it, but it won't be till next class.
Okay.
The reason why I don't cue it now is almost always when I used to do it before in the first class, people would resort to the word without using the collar. They wanted the word to work, but they wouldn't reinforce this enough. So then I'd come back and the dog was all over the place and going heel, 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 heel 1,000 times, and the dog's not listening, so then they're disempowering what that word means, okay? So once you start that 3 mile walk, my general rule of thumb is 80% work to 20% work, okay? So if 3 miles is an hour walk, 45, 50 minutes is straight walking like this, okay? And then she'd get a 10-minute break, however you want to divide it up, to do her dog's business, but the rest of the walk is here, okay? So we're practicing, we're getting physical activity, but we're also getting mental activity. Because now she has to refrain from doing anything that she would typically do. You know, so again, going back to dogs that forge a lot. Pulling towards every tree to pee, sniffing everything they come by, jumping in every person, jumping in every dog, barking at skateboarders and squirrels, all that stuff, right? The dog has to show impulse control. If the dog does anything, I correct it by the tap, redirect them to that leg, going, nope, we're working now, okay? So think of obedience as clocking Penny into work. Okay, so like right now I'm clocked in. I'm working for you. I'm not on my phone. I'm not drinking a beer or anything like that. I'm educating you because that's what you paid for. But after this, I could go to a bar and drink. I'm off the clock. Okay, so that's what obedience is like. When she's clocked in, it's her job to pay attention to you, but it's also your job to reinforce the fact that she should be paying attention to you.
Got it.
Okay.
So, quick question. So let's say, let's talk about my 1 hour walk. You know, you just mentioned 80-20, which I totally understand. do I do that in the middle of the walk, at the end of the walk? Do I
However you
do I
want.
break it up like recess? Like, hey, we're gonna romp around for 15 minutes, and maybe I'll throw a frisbee or whatever. Although I'm not gonna do it before because I have to have a long lead.
Yeah, sure. So you can break it up however you want, right? So let's say it's 45, 15 to make it simple. You can do 5 in the beginning, walk, 5 in the middle, walk, 5-minute break in the beginning, right? So I can do a 15-minute break. You could do a long walk, 15-minute break in the middle, long walk back.
I'm just wondering, like, at her stage of development, like what.
However you like.
Because like little kids, they can't take 3 hours of lecture class.
Oh, sure. So ideally, we would split the walk up into smaller chunks. So like 3 20-minute walks or 4 50-minute walks if you can. If all you have is a solid hour, it's perfectly fine. Okay.
Well, I mean, part of it is I want her to get exercise. Obviously, I want her to get a little stress out of her system. It's become her routine. She looks forward to it. But I do think it's better for me to go on 2 smaller walks every day. I can do that as well.
Yeah. That's ideal for the learning process. Okay. Because like right now, every time we stop and talk, she's processing what you just did. Okay. So when you split it up throughout the day,
I got it.
She's
It's
processing.
like practicing an instrument. Like
it is.
more
Yeah.
frequent practicing is better than sitting down and playing for 3 hours straight once a week.
Yeah, I used to play guitar, but but my guitar teacher said, he's like, take these and break these up into small minute exercises. He's like, because you're processing all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So it's like your neuronal pathways get developed through that kind of repetition.
Yes.
Much better than sitting down. Like I said,
You can still see my little one too.
a lot of fun, but it's different. It's different.
Correct. So if you can do that, that's great. Really only for the first week. Once you learn behavior, you can start going on your long walks again. We got a dog coming behind us. Like you would normally. Okay?
Yep.
When you're going to give her a break to go potty, you're going to use that word break. Okay? If you don't have a release word already. Break means your job is done. She can pee, poop, roll around, sniff the ground, have a cigarette, I don't care. She's free to do as she wants. And then once you're ready to go again, you would start walking, tap, bring her back to your side, and now it's back on again.
Okay. And then you recommend using 60. Is that she seems
So,
to respond to that?
When you start your walk, I'm going to have you, and then talk to Emily, see if she has those emails, because it'll help clarify things. Before you start that walk, find that working number first, okay? So today, I think it may have been a smidgen too loose, but let's say you tighten it up, you go outside, you start at 15, 20, 25, 30.
I see.
And then at 30,
So,
you...
You're saying that the e-collar might not be snug enough around her neck.
Possibly, yeah.
And it could be that it's crossed over a little bit from her muzzle collar.
Yeah, and
there's-
she's got that thicker fur, right?
Yeah.
So that's one drawback about e-collar with long-haired dogs is that in the beginning you're trying to figure out what's that connection and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's you just sit there. So what we're looking for is not just a contraction, but the contraction and a movement of like what the hell was that? Okay, because that's going to be the number that's going to make her right away adhere to that position because it's important. She wants it. She doesn't want it to happen again. Okay. Now, if we're getting yipping like we did on the 80, so at first 80 was fine, and then you tapped again and she yipped, and go down to 20. We went down drastically, right? And then she was fine on that 60 that we ended up at. So that number may change each day, and also depending on the context.
I see.
If you take her on a bike trail, maybe it's a place where she's really stimulated, you might go from 60 to 75, right? But she's not yipping because you have to contest with the brain and make yourself more important than what's going on within the context of the environment.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it, it's super simple. You start to learn ranges. You know, the typical range is 25 to 35. You know, but that's with dogs where we have good connection. They're completely stable, where there's no kind of overstimulation, anxiety, fear, nervousness involved. Because then we have to not only override the dog, but override the dog's emotional state. Okay, we have to cut through all that fear and anxiety and stuff like that. Otherwise, the way she responded today was really well. I think you'll be okay not using your muzzle for the walk because I didn't see anything of hers in terms of a redirect. That was my biggest concern. Okay, because that's what happened with your daughter. Okay?
Exactly.
So if you want to err on the side of caution, which I always do advise, feel free to use that muzzle. That's what it's there for. Okay? It allows you to work with her. If you happen to hit it too high in the collar, you're not worried about, she's going to come after me. Anytime a dog does redirect or come towards the handler, you want to get used to the up, what we call the up and away. Okay, so we'll grab the leash fairly high, close to the collar. That gives us immediate leverage, because if you're holding at the handle, you're like this, but now the dog has all this leash to lunge towards you. right? So we shorten it. You'll see me like always grab and then up and away like this. Because if the dog goes up, I'll go up with them, and as they go down, I'll go down with them. But also they lunge this way, they can't because of the length of the leash. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to use the e-collar for anything we didn't cover today. So you're only using it for leash walking exercise. Okay. I know we wanted to jump into that other stuff as well.
That's fine. I get it. I understand the curve here. So
yeah. So we want to make sure that she's processing it correctly. I advise putting the collar on 50 minutes prior, leaving it on 50 minutes after. Okay,
so she doesn't. Like,
yeah, it's not
doesn't
like
make that connection, that association.
yes.
And it's just going for a walk. There's nothing at all to do with the collar. The collar
Correct.
just happens to be an incidental thing.
Correct. You can even pop it on her during the day, not do anything with it. You can also counter condition using cheese, hot dog, turkey, whatever. Present the collar, treat, put it on, treat. Go for your walk, leave it on for a bit, go to grab it, treat, remove it, treat.
Right.
So that she thinks, oh, cool. Like, everyone might see this something good.
That's what
happens.
we've been doing with the muzzle.
Yeah, same process.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So keep repeating that. If you start to notice any tension from her in regards to the e-collar, let me know, and then you can ask Emily for my number because I called her.
I need to have your number. I should just put it on my phone right now.
Yeah, if you have it, I can give it.
Well,
to you.
because I'm the one that's going to be doing this. So
Sure.
Anyways, we're starting to enter wasp season.
Yeah.
They're starting to come out. Hey, get out of here, buddy. Fast. Jeez. I'm going to do it this way. Go ahead.
773 983 8840.
Okay. Good.
You got it?
Yep, there we go. What's your last name?
San Miguel.
Miguel.
Yeah. Like
Nice.
St. Michael, but in Spanish.
How do I know?
Oh yeah. I know the bad words.
None of bad words. Did you grow up in Chicago?
No, I'm from Florida.
Oh, really?
So
What part?
Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we moved here in 2000. I was in Texas briefly for a couple of years, and then
Yeah.
moved back here. So I spent majority of my life in Chicago.
Yeah.
So.
Came up here for the weather.
So questions.
No, nothing.
If you need to, if this is recorded, of course, we'll put it on YouTube.
Okay.
You can either go to my YouTube channel and then search Penny. I always put the dog's name first.
Yeah.
And they can just pick her video out
Okay.
if you need anything. Otherwise, you can shoot me an email as well, and I can send you her video.
Sounds good.
It usually takes me a day or two to get it uploaded. Otherwise, if you have any training questions, email is best.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's an emergency,
Yeah.
then you call or text me.
Okay.
And then we'll see how it goes for this week. Ideally, every walk you do is on the e-collar, unless it's a quick little potty break, pee-poo type of stuff. I'm not too worried about it.
Right.
You can also talk to Emily about those. I sent her 3 videos.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch those.
Yeah. Okay. That'll help kind of close the gap on a few of the things that we kind of rushed through today. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, if anything pops up, you let me know. I gotta head out to my other client.
Yeah, I got it, man.
It was good to see you, Edward.
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
to see that you got the correct collar. Do pop that in the chart.